Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. It is 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. This is episode 1 of season 2, and I am so excited and delighted to have back gracing our stage none other than Cyrus Webb. Cyrus, how's it going?
Really well. Thank you so much for letting me start off the new season. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great. And for those of you who may not know who Cyrus Webb is, I want to tell you a little bit about him. He is the CEO of Conversations Media Group. He is an influencer, an innovator, a mover and a shaker. He is an author. He's a speaker. He's a teacher. He is a TV and radio personality and show host. And he is one of the top, I believe you're now 150 Amazon influencer.
Yeah.
That's a big deal because what are there over like 5 or 10,000 in the world?
Yeah, well, actually, they're at 2 million.
2 million, and you're in 150.
I know, right? I normally don't mention the 2 million because that's when it gets scary when I think about. But yeah, when I first started off, I was in the 2 millions.
That is impressive. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we want to just get right into this. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Business and Financial Raw Talk, the purpose of the show is to have conversations with leaders and innovators. And we challenge systems, norms, thoughts as it relates to business and finances. And the goal is to help you reassess and readjust your lens so that you can achieve the best and highest version for yourself in your business and in your finances. And today we're going to be talking about your gifts and talents are your secret to your success. And Cyrus, you have just in the years that we've known each other, I think going on 13 now, I've just watched you and your business evolve and expand. And I'd like you to just share with our audience how you started off, you were introduced into radio. And then from there, you were able to, I guess, be introduced to your own talents and giftings that someone else saw in you, and how that has now enabled you to expand on so many different platforms, meeting so many people from around the world and truly influencing and impressing the lives of others.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate, when you were talking about gifts and talents, I couldn't help but smile because that's really has been the core of my success, honestly. I think about my mom tells a story. My mom loves to take digs at me, which I appreciate. But growing up, I've always wanted to write and draw. That was it. I never thought about being rich, never thought about living a certain place or driving a certain thing. Writing and drawing have always just been a part of my passion. So it's so funny that at 46, I literally do make a living doing exactly what I wanted to do as a child, even though other things have come with it, right? So you're right. I mean, for me, it all began with those gifts. That was it. When I was first introduced to radio in 2003, I had made a name for myself in my home state of Mississippi as a spoken word artist. I had written these poetry chapbooks. And LaWanna, I don't know if your audience will remember this, but the chapbooks used to be, we used to type out your poems and staple them together. I was one of those people and would sell them, right? And so people had gotten to know me from the chapbooks I'd written. And then, of course, my attending spoken word events and hosting spoken word events. So I was speaking at an event in 2003 when I was approached about radio. Now, LaWanna, I'd never thought about doing radio. I that was never in my plan, or, I wanted to write and draw. But I did see it as an opportunity to introduce what I thought at the time for one episode, to introduce myself to a larger audience as an artist and a poet, right? That first show in July of 2003 was horrible. And it was horrible because I tried to make it about me. I was talking about myself, talking about what I was doing. And it was supposed to be an interactive call-in show, literally on the radio dial, right? Nobody was calling in. So I'm like, okay, I didn't know anything about guests. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. And so the last 10 minutes of the show, the producer told me we had a caller. Now, this is a 30-minute episode, right? So I had been just fumbling over and reading some of my poetry, just trying to fill the time. And it was one of my friends, and I want to shout her out. Her name was Angela Sarden. She's now Angela Sarden Collier. And she was listening to me online. LaWanna, to show you how ignorant I was, I didn't even know the radio station was heard online either at the same time. She was listening to me online. She was like, Cyrus, I'm so proud of you. I just wanted to call in and say congratulations. Well, Angela is a very talented artist, LaWanna. So I said something, just told me to ask her about herself. And I said, Angela, for those who don't know you, why don't you tell them about your artwork? And as soon as she started talking in that last 10 minutes, I knew that's where I went wrong, because it wasn't about amplifying me. It was about amplifying the voice of others through my platform. So the show, a lot of people don't realize that when it was not called Conversations in the beginning, it was called Let's Talk with Cyrus Webb. That's how it started off. But after that very first episode, it was then Conversations with Cyrus Webb, and now it's Conversations Live.
That's amazing. And you mentioned to me that there was someone who heard you on the radio and told you that that's where you were meant to be. Who was that person?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think for myself, when I, again, not even thinking about me, there's, and it's funny you said that, because over the years have been so many people have said, that this is your place. But I've had people who were right around me at the time, the individual who gave me my opportunity, Charles Evers, a brother of Medgar Evers, he said, I think you'll be good at this. And I was like, really? It just didn't seem like that was going to be my path. But again, I saw it as a platform. And that's what I think I've been able to use it as, LaWanna, as a platform. Again, taking myself really out of the equation, even though that's why I focus on the Conversations Live part of it, because to me, it really is about the guest being the star of it.
I love that. And the one thing that I noticed is with your guests, you touch everyone from your A-list celebrities and major influencers around the world to your small entrepreneurs, your small business owners.
Yeah. And that's just me in life. My mom will tell you, it's not a cliche, I treat everybody the same. I look at everybody the same. I tell people I get just as nervous with an up-and-coming artist or author, recording artist, as I get us interviewing one of the A-list celebrities. Because to me, regardless of the guest, my intent is the same with everybody. And that is to make sure that they are heard and that they felt like they are being respected. Because I look at the show, and even any part of Conversations, the platform that I have, as my home. And I always want people to feel like, you know what, I enjoyed that. I want to come back there. You know what I'm saying? And that's the feel I like to leave people. In fact, today, as we're beginning this year, the guest that came on the show today sent me this nice email afterwards saying, I can understand why you're so successful. And, it was her book's a very touchy subject. And, I told her, I said, look, at the very beginning, we're going to be in this thing together. We're going to, I'm not going to go anywhere you don't want to go. And that's just the way I feel with every guest.
I like that. And let's sit in that for a moment, because your guests are your clients. Yeah. And what would you like to tell our audience about just that? Like you said, it's not, you pull yourself back, and it's about creating that experience for them. How important is it for individuals to realize that you want to be memorable by creating that customer experience that delights that client, right?
Yeah. And I've learned from three people in that regard, and people who know me know the three people I'm talking about, LaWanna. That's Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart, and Jeff Bezos. Those three individuals have been so good at that. And I've watched that, how the reason they're successful is because they're able to bring other people into it. Martha Stewart's like, you know what? Yeah, you can feed 50 people. Let me show you how to do it. And Oprah makes you just feel like, you're just having a conversation on her couch. And Jeff Bezos, what you just mentioned about the customer experience, that client experience, he's mastered that. I mean, like nobody else that I've seen in business. And I think that's the thing about me. I learn from people who do do it well. And I think that's what all of us as business owners have to do. You're not going to learn everything from your neighbor down the street. You can have respect for that person or your friend that you graduated school with. But if you want to go to another level, you have to look at people who are doing what you want to do on the level that you want to be on, because that's the only thing you then have to be able to work toward and to learn from.
And you got into where I want to take this conversation next is, how do we elevate our game? So you have your gifts and talents, and whether you discover them or someone points them out to you, as you mentioned, you look to others who are where you want to be. But how else did you work on honing your craft?
I learned very early on. In fact, one of the biggest lessons of my now this year conversations, the radio show, was turn 19 in July. It's hard to believe that.
Wow, you have a
But
teenager.
yeah, right. All my kids are teenagers. All three of the conversations, they're all teenagers. But one of the things I had to learn that I didn't appreciate in the beginning, and this just shows, I tell people you don't know what you don't know, right? One of the things at my third year into radio, I was literally able to quit my full-time job, and I began full-time in broadcasting entertainment after 3 years. My job literally got in the way of where the show took, it just took off. So people got to know me. I was written about. People called me the male Oprah. The Chicago Tribune, I posted the article, even did a thing, Oprah better watch her back. And so people were talking about places I'd never even been before, right? And they were calling me the male Oprah, the male Oprah. And I embraced that for a while until someone came to me. And this is why it's so good to listen to people. Even when it's criticism you don't always get at the time, it's good to listen to it to see what you can glean from it. They said, Cyrus, you're not Oprah. You'll never be Oprah. Oprah is Oprah. You need to just embrace being the best of you. And that, LaWanna, made so much sense. It seems like a simple thing,
Yes.
but I noticed in my career, you hear it all the time. The next, LeBron James, the next, this person. And that's what we do. We try to compare others to those who are somewhere else instead of realizing you can be your own thing. So that's really what, to answer your question, what really helped me in that is to realize it was all about just being the best of me. That's what helped me outside of my gifts and talents and learning from Jeff Bezos, learning from Martha Stewart, learning from Oprah, but making sure Cyrus is there, because Cyrus is what's going to make the difference in me and other people that's out there.
That is such a powerful truth. And I think when we can really embrace that genius that each of us have, I mean, we have a unique experience that we are hopefully able to showcase to the world. And often it gets hidden because we are trying to replicate or to parrot someone else, instead of saying, okay, I can learn and understand some of the tips and tools of the trade. But as you did, now how do I do this the Cyrus Web way? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. And for me, if I tell people to do it the Cyrus Web way, it is to really double down on you. There is that saying, I don't know who said it, LaWanna, but no one is you and that is your power, right? That's the thing. I think because if I tried to be like, now the comparison I get, which I understand it and I'm humbled by it, is Steve Harvey. I get that one. You work as hard as Steve Harvey. Well, that's a compliment to me. However, I'm not Steve Harvey, but I appreciate where that's coming from. And I'm not then trying to be like Steve Harvey. And I think that's the thing. I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as individuals, we have to understand that if we want to draw the people we want to our, what we have built, what we have branded, what we are trying to construct, the thing that's going to separate us is us. We're the ingredient. We're the main ingredient. Because there, as you said, there are a lot of, I tell people, I know I'm not the most talented person. I'm not the most educated person. I'm not the best looking person. I'm definitely not the tallest person. So, the thing though that separates me from other people is what Cyrus Webb, brings to the table as himself.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Now, what do you say to that individual who they hear what you're saying, And it's like, but I don't know how to show up as me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to just be, and to be okay with some people being attracted to me and some not. But knowing that I'm living in my authenticity, I'm living in my truth, I'm living in my power. What would you say to someone who is really struggling to uncover that for themselves?
For myself, using myself as an example, what I had to learn to do, and I'm a big on writing things down. I had to look at my strengths. I literally had to write down my strong points. What would someone be attracted to that I have to offer? What is it I can do? And then think about the needs that are out there. Because one thing I've learned, and I use the field of dreams adage all the time: if you build it, they will come. I think the mistake that we make sometimes as business owners is that we try to sell to the wrong rooms, right?
Mm,
We
yes.
we we think because we have a service. If I'm an insurance salesman, and I sell car insurance, my going to a funeral home with people are grieving their loved ones is not the place for me to be in. Now, there may be a lot of people in that room, right? And I may have a good service, but that is not the service that that room needs. And I think a lot of times what I had to learn was, Cyrus, you need to make sure you're in the right place, for what you have to offer. If you want to offer something for those who are in the arts, entertainment, or whatever it is, making sure that you are then making that available to the people looking for that. And I think that's the mistake we make. We think because a place is popular that it is a great fit. And I
Yes.
have definitely learned in my life that is not the case, because you can be in a big room with the wrong people, and that's not going to get you where you want to go. So I would say to the audience, after you write down and really evaluate what you have to offer, ask yourself, am I surrounding myself with people who need my service? Am I looking for those people? Am I going to where those people are, online and offline? Because if we're not, will never be discovered. And the thing that frustrates me a lot of times, and it's my friends say, and this is true, I can admit this. I get upset with other people, LaWanna, because I see, and you probably do this too, I see the greatness they have in themselves before
Yes.
sometimes they realize it. And I think, why are they not doing this? And why they could do, but a lot of people are just waiting. And I'm sure you've met people like this too. I'm sure the viewers have. They think, oh, well, I know what I have to offer. People are going to come to me. They're going to find me, you know. And I think that's not the way the world works these days. It's
Yes.
not. There's too much out there now, online and offline. You have to go looking for it and make yourself known. For myself, when I started in radio, Luan, I did not know what I was doing. Like I said, I didn't know where the show was listened to. I didn't know the demographics. I went into it so ignorant. However, when the opportunity presented itself with that call from Angela, I was able to pivot and say, you know what, Angela, I appreciate you calling, but for those who don't know you, let's talk about you. Because again, that was a connection with my audience. And that's what started the interviewing style. So I would say that to the audience out there, making sure that you are speaking in the right room, but also that the language that you're speaking is, one, being true to what you believe your strengths are and what you have to offer, but also out there actually benefiting other people and not just trying to sell to them. Because for me, it wasn't about Angela paying anything, or it was about offering something that could help her. And that's what people are looking for now.
And that's so true. Like the phrase you said is to benefit, look to how you can benefit other people. And I often say repositioning yourself to always remain relevant in the eyes of your clients. And I was smiling when you said, make sure you're in the right room. A couple of years ago, Cyrus, I was so excited to be on this national radio show. Yes. And I didn't bet and ask about who your audience is or anything like that. And so I went on to talk about my mortgage company. Lo and behold, great interview, but the audience was not an audience I could service because I didn't do business in that region.
Wow. Yeah.
So again, it's do your homework, not sit back and expect, like you said, people to come, but go out there, be known, be relatable, and then find, and I like what you said, hone your message so that those that are intended to hear what you're offering will be attracted to you, right?
Yeah. LaWanna, I had an experience, and I'm not name dropping when I say this, but it happened and it made me so happy. Now, some people would have been offended by this, but I interviewed Smokey Norfolk last year. He has a book out, but he's a tremendous, artist and, and known for music. But he didn't know who I was. And I could say, well, I've been doing radio for 18. And he said during the interview, he says, you know what? Before this call, I never knew who you were. He said, but I'm going to be listening to you. He said, I really enjoyed this. Now, some people would have focused on before this call, I never knew who you were, Bart. I was flattered because of the latter part of that, where he said, I'm going to be listening. And he has shared my show. He's shared it with other people. Because of him, I got to interview some of the Wayan family.
Okay.
And so that's the thing we need to do. Make sure that we are focusing on the benefit, because he was there to talk about his book. I'd read the book. You know how I am about books. I'd read the book. I had questions, and he was so engaged in the interview. He's like, wow, I really enjoyed this. And he told other people about. That's what you want. But if I just made this about myself, he wouldn't have gotten the benefit. And then two, I wouldn't have gotten the residuals that came with that. So that's why it's so important for us as business owners. I know it's a lot of times we talk too much because we're excited about what we do, right? But sometimes we have to stop and listen and making sure that we're actually hearing what our customer or potential customer client is telling us so that we can make sure we're delivering what they want.
I love that. To our listening audience, we are here with Cyrus Webb. He is a major influencer in the world of business and social media, radio and TV. He is the CEO of Conversations Media Group. And we are here discussing how your gifts and your talents are your secrets to your success. And Cyrus, is it okay if I show your commercial?
Sure, would love that.
Okay.
Good Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. We're going to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
There is so much in that commercial that speaks to who you are, your love and passion for books, spotlighting and showcasing individuals, allowing them to have a voice. But the last quote, you were talking about to not allow yourself to be limited, to use your gifts, to go beyond the limits. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I have not been good at that, actually. And I'll explain for the audience. So the thing about me and LaWanna, I've talked to you about this before, and I'm a worker. I like to work. I come from a family of workers. And I mentioned earlier in the beginning, I just wanted to write and draw. I never was good at the, well, let me say this. I was never a person driven by, living someplace, driving something, having a certain amount in the bank account. However, and those are laudable things, right? They're laudable things for me not to make that the focus. But as I have gotten more successful, I've struggled with that success because of the stuff that comes with it. For me, success is just being able to do what I love doing, right? And that sounds great too. But we have to make a living. We know that. And there are things that do come with your success. That has not been an easy thing because I have shared publicly, and I'm probably more transparent than people expect me to be on some of this stuff. Because I don't know if you remember the one I had probably about 5 years ago. I had a producer coming back to Steve Harvey, which is why the whole Steve Harvey thing came up. One of his producers had contacted me about a project. And they said to me, we don't think you have the ego and the bravado to be able to carry this out. And quite honestly, you're treating $1 million business like a mom and pop shop. That's what the producer said to me. Mm. And 5 years ago, I was like, well, that's an odd thing to say. Now, let me not even pretend. I've been told that before. So here was someone who didn't know me, though, who vetted me for this, call that we were on. And I said to him, which sounds stupid now, and I say stupid for me because of my ignorance. And I said, well, do you think I'm supposed to do it differently? And he says, well, I can't answer that. Well, you know what? He never called me back. But I went on Facebook and shared that because that was an epiphany for me. It's one thing for someone around you to say, oh, you got $1 million ideas. People tell us that they'll gas us up. You can. But here was someone who had no dog in the fight, who could have presented an opportunity to me, but I didn't have the right mentality. Which is why that quote, when you limit your mind, you limit yourself, is so important for me first. Because I realized what was happening was I wasn't taking my business seriously enough. I was good at it. Even 5 years ago, which was 13 years into the show, I was good at it. The show was successful, but it was not where it could have been. Now, I guess subconsciously I knew I could be bigger. You know how we always, I could be this, but I've never wanted to be big. That was never the goal. So I said all that to say, for myself, that quote is a reminder that I wasn't created to be mediocre. And that's what I had to remember. I had to remember I wasn't created just to be okay. I was created to be great. Now, it's one thing as a person of faith to say that, but I had to ask myself, was I really walking that? And the answer at the time was no. Today, I can say I am. And so for me, what I have to realize is that I've been given something. And that something has put me in places I never could have imagined. And I need to embrace that because there are greater things for me. So that's what it does for me. And that's what I hope it does for the audience. And, like I said, I'm very transparent because I don't want people to think this has been easy for me. Now, the show Success happened quickly, but my mind had to catch up to it, if that makes sense. The show was growing. I was not. I was exactly what the guy said, treating like a mom and pop. That's what I was doing because mentally I wasn't where I needed to be. And so I've realized that the gifts are important, yes, but you also have to be mentally prepared for what comes with that, especially if there's a certain level you're trying to get to.
Yeah, that makes me think about to whom much is given, much is required, and it really starts with the mind and ends with the mindset. And I guess it is kind of humbling to say, okay, you got this $1 million business and you're running it like a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
So how we show up is going to in turn result in how the world responds to us. And some people think, well, if I come up and if I say that I'm great and I show up in this excellence, then I'm not being humble enough. And for me, I think we need to be comfortable with applauding ourselves because that's when the world is going to turn and applaud us. And I love when I see you celebrating yourself every single day on social media. You're like, I'm just gonna let the world know this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I told a friend I told you about, Earl Hall. I said to him at the end of last year, I said, you know what? It's time. Because I realized I was hurting my business by not doing it, LaWanna. And again, a lot of people may not get that, but if you don't acknowledge what you have done, how can you expect someone else to? You know, if you have something to offer that can help someone else and you don't let them know about it, you're not helping your audience. You're hurting them and yourself. And so what I've had to learn is, you know what? Humility, it has its place, but the facts are the facts. You know, I mean, that's just the thing. And it's like, and that was a conflict for me. That was a daily conflict, and I would feel guilty sometimes, honestly, because I'm like, wow, things are really, even in the middle of the pandemic, you notice really in many ways I accelerated beginning in March of 2020 to now. And so, and that's something I'm very proud of myself for, but also I'm very mindful of. A lot of it too is the way you present it too, right? So I made a post just today saying, you know what, I'm apologizing now because this is only the beginning. There is more to come, and that's every day. That's the way it happens. And so, but what I've understood too, if you don't mind my sharing this, LaWanna, is things have happened because I've showed up that I could not have even foreseen. Last year in 2021, I interviewed 3 A-listers, Mary J. Blige. Yeah, I had Kirk Franklin. I had Naturi Naughton. These are people, if I had tried to reach out to their people, first of all, I don't even know how to get to their people. Honestly, I never have had contact information. But all 3 of their people reached out to me, LaWanna, because they had found out about my show and my platform. So I got to interview all 3 of them, not because I reached out for them. They came to me. And 2022 is starting off the same way. Tomorrow I'm interviewing Stacy Keach. I watched him on television as a kid, and now I'm interviewing him. I mean, it's one of those things, again, it is exactly what you said, your gifts will make room for you. But the mindset now is different. If my mindset is not where it was, what shifted 5 years ago, I wouldn't have even been able to do this now. Exactly. I know that for a fact, because I wouldn't mentally be able to handle it. But I'm in a different place now. I realize it's inevitable. This is what happens, when faith and hard work come together.
Exactly. And to those of you that are listening, and Cyrus is really the poster child of what dedication, daily dedication to your love and your passion looks like. Last year, you interviewed over 900 people, 900 individual interviews. In addition to all the other things that you're doing, and to hear that you're now re-embracing your art. I mean, you didn't never completely let it go, but I understand that now you're going to have a showing of your artwork.
Yeah, I'm going to be actually doing my first virtual art show in just a few months. And so, yeah, it's one of those things. You're right. I've been able to do it because I've illustrated the past 5 years. I've illustrated children's books. People probably didn't even realize I did a greeting card line. I was hired to illustrate a line of greeting cards. So my artwork has been out there. I just haven't made it a primary because I've had a few other things going on, right? So it's been hard to just focus on that. But thanks to the way, and I have to shout out Amazon. I know people say I talk about Amazon all the time, but it's because of a platform and just to think that I have the relationship with Amazon, right? I mean, yes, that has really helped me in so many ways in amplifying my message, reaching a new audience. And I'll be hosting a virtual art show through Amazon. And it's going to be an extraordinary thing for me. Again, I'll be turning, 47 this year, which is crazy in itself. But I think about, this is one of those interesting times right now, LaWanna, for me, that I get to kind of come full circle with all of the things that people got to know me for in the beginning.
Congratulations. Cyrus, I cannot believe we're almost out of time, and I want to give you about 3 minutes just to share with our audience anything that's on your heart as it relates to them holding on to their dreams and passions and living authentically and fully in their lane and their zone of genius.
Well, I would share an experience I had with a guest now, probably, oh my goodness, it's probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I had Brandon Nicholson, who's a celebrity fitness trainer. He came on the radio show, Conversations Live, and it was at the end of 1 year. And he said to the audience, but I embrace this myself, and I now live by this. He said, so many people talk about a new year. And he said, for them, that's really a lie. It's not a new year, it's another year. He said, the thing that makes it a new year is you making up your mind that you're going to approach it differently than you've treated other years. So what I would say to the audience is, if 2022 is going to be your year, then it all begins, as LaWanna said, with your mindset. You have to make sure that you are ready to make it a different year than it was last year. That means you're going to do things differently. You're going to strategize. You're going to plan. You're going to actually do the research you need, not only for your audience, but also for what your services are and who can best benefit from those services. And I think, too, LaWanna mentioned about celebrating myself. That has not been easy for me because, again, I'm a worker. But you have to also celebrate the small wins. I think the mistake we as business owners and entrepreneurs make is that we set a big goal, which is great, but we don't feel good if we don't reach that big goal. And the problem with that is you may have still reached another level than you were when you started. And what I have learned to do now is to celebrate those small wins, because those small wins are going to keep me motivated enough to go toward the big thing, no matter how long it may take. And I think that's the other thing. Patience is key. I started this now with this brand quite a while ago, as I've mentioned here. I mean, we're going on now 19 years this year, this July. So I could not quit my job year one. It was because of the way events kind of unfolded that allowed me 3 years in to do that. But don't put a timeline on yourself either. Don't think you're too young. Don't think you're too old. Look at where you are, realize what you can do starting today. And if you do that and you stay consistent, I guarantee you're going to win.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. This has been great. I so appreciate your time for joining us for another year of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators. To our listening audience, please reach out to Cyrus. Follow him. He is on Twitter, Facebook, all things social media, or you can go to his website at www.cyrusweb.com and see what this amazing man is doing. He is really shaking up things, and like he said, we haven't seen anything yet.
For all of us, I hope, LaWanna, for all of us.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you again for joining us for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. We will be back next week, same time, 6 p.m. on Tuesdays on our new platform, E360 TV. And remember that when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, goodbye, everyone. Well, how was that? Was he amazing? What a great way to start off our year with the talented Cyrus Webb. I just so appreciate his friendship, business partnership, and mentorship that he has given me throughout the year. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that he shared and how important it is for you to uncover your gifts, uncover your talents. Don't hide them under a rock. Let the world see your greatness. And I think we live more fulfilled and happy lives when we truly are doing what we were purposed to do, when we do what delights us and excites us. And whatever that may be, you don't owe anyone any excuse. Just do you, be you. And the other point that he made, which is so critical, is being very conscious of your mindset and realizing how important that is in all that we do. You have to show up for yourself. You have to believe in you before the world starts to believe and applaud and celebrate you. So I am LaWanna Bradford here with another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. Again, I will be back next week, and I want to just close us out with one last commercial.